that's why Tesco made no orders, or I can completely own up and say, look, I want this opportunity, I want to be here more than anything else, and that's the reason why I bottled it, and if you fire me, I'll understand, but if you let me stay, it won't happen again. I didn't know what I was going to do until I walked in. I sat down and I just did it straight away. I was like, right, listen, I don't know how many orders we got from Tesco, but I had an absolute shocker. And these are the reasons I want to be here. I want to make my family proud, and I bottled it, and it won't happen again. And he told me that that was the reason he let me stay, is because I had the balls basically to come in and own up to my mistake and say that it won't happen again. Second lesson there for me, really. I also had some really good experiences. I broke the record for selling to the public. I sold 11 hot tubs at a trade show, 9 of which to one guy. I sold 9 hot tubs to one guy. £31,000. I don't know who needs 9 hot tubs, but I'm so glad he did. I was like, yes, 9. So anyway, that was really good. And then Lord Sugar said to me, he's like, right, you're going to be my business partner. I'm like, jolly good. Let's get this on the thing here. So I leave, and I'd never seen Lord Sugar outside of the boardroom on The Apprentice. I'd only seen him in that thing, and then I won, and then I leave, right? And then he texts me and he says, I want you to come round to my flat. And I'm like, this is pretty cool, Lord Sugar's texting me. So I go round to his flat, and without giving too much away, it's in like the poshest hotel in London. And I walk in and I've got my 3-piece suit on, my best suit, I've got my CV and my business plan, bearing in mind I've already won at this point. But I've never met him outside of the show, and I wanted to make a good impression. So I go in and I say, hi, my name's Mark Wright, I'm here to see Lord Sugar. Fantastic. And then the concierge takes me, and there's the lift where the guests go in for the hotel up to their rooms, and then there's a lift on the end on its own. So he puts the key in the lift, I get in the end lift, and it takes me up and opens up in Lord Sugar's flat. And it's a lot nicer than my flat. That was my first thought. I was like, this is pretty cool. So I go in, I got my 3-piece suit on, he's just got on his jeans and a shirt, just like a completely normal guy. And I go into his living room, and I said, Lord Sugar, thank you so much for the opportunity. I won't let you down. Here's my CV. And he takes my CV and he looks at it and he rips it up in front of me. There's no one else here. And he threw it on the ground and he said, I don't care how fucking far you can throw a boomerang. And I was just stood there like, this is weird. So I knew at that point it was going to be a pretty serious experience in my life. We talked about how we were going to set up my business. He told me how he thought I was going to do it, how the model would work, how the business plan works, things, how many staff we're going to hire, where we're going to put offices. And we got the model of the business sorted over the 2 hours. I leave, they send me an email, what's the bank account details. I sent across my bank account details, and 2 days later I had £250,000 in there. And I logged in and there was 250 something thousand. I think I had 51. I think I had 1,000 of my own there, which is great. And I've gone from, in this country, £171 to £250,000 in a couple of years. That's now a couple of years ago. And I was looking at it, and what's the first thing you do when you get £250,000? I took a photo and WhatsApped it to my dad. And I said, look, at £250,000. And then there's a serious realisation you get, that when someone gives you 250 grand, it's not because I'm a nice bloke or he likes the colour of my eyes. He is giving me £250,000 because I've got to give him a lot more money back. And I need to do that very bloody quickly, or I don't have a job anymore. So that's a pretty serious realisation. So we opened on the 5th of January last year, 2015. We're already the most successful business to come from an apprentice winner. Turned over 1.7 million in the first year, 4 million this year, projected to do 7.5 next year. We paid back the 250,000 to him within 9 months. And we've just opened in South Africa and Bristol over the last couple of months. We employ over 30 people in this country here, and it's going very, very well, but not without extreme stress. Running a business is probably one of the hardest things in the world to do in the first 2 years. It's incredibly hard, it's incredibly stressful. I'll give you an example. I started trading, I made a loss in the first month, a substantial loss. And then the second month, I started to get some sales. I made £12,000 worth of sales, and I thought, yes, we're starting to make it. So I get £12,000, and all of a sudden, bang, I get a lawsuit on my desk. The biggest company in our sector gave us a lawsuit. At this time, I was turning over £12,000. They were turning over 487 million, right? And they've sued me, bang. And I thought, what am I going to do here? This is really bad news. This could shut us down. They're wanting a percentage of the company and all of these sorts of things. And they're going to cripple us. And I only use Lord Sugar when I need him, because I don't want to be able to see, not to be able to handle my own shit, right? I want to be able to be seen as the guy that can handle it. I've got it under control. But it was spiraling out of control pretty quickly. So I called him up and I said, Lord Sugar, we've got a situation. We're getting sued. It's not looking good. I need some advice on what to do. And he said, right, this is good news. And I said, well, how is this good news? He said, well, why do you think there's no other drinks in the fridge that are cola flavoured that aren't Coca-Cola? I was like, I don't know. He said, when a business comes into a marketplace, right, if they're doing incredibly well, what happens? A big company in that sector will buy them or sue them to get rid of them. That's why you don't see big competitors at the top level, because other companies eliminate them. And when you think about it, it's so true, isn't it? So a bigger company, we had incredible PR, we're making a lot of noise, we're getting some big customers, and we got sued. So he said, here's how you sort it out. You ring up the person that's suing you, and you say, hi, my name's Mark Wright, you're suing me. Fuck off. And I was like, right. So I stopped writing, I stopped taking notes at that point. But he said, because you get one chance in business to get a reputation, right? And if you get a reputation that people can mess with you, they'll mess with you. But if you get a reputation that you can come at me and you're going to get knocked back down, it doesn't matter the size of your company, no one will mess with you again. He said, let me give you an example. I got sued by a company in Japan, from Japan, and it turned out they were going to lose, and they offered me a settlement of £250,000. He said, but I dragged them through court for 4 years to win £250,000 to prove you don't mess with me. And we ended up winning that. We ended up winning that legal battle, and we haven't had any dramas since. But I think the things that I've learned over the last few years are incredible, really, because if someone had said to me before I did this whole process, you can have mentorship or £250,000, which one would you pick? I would have picked the money. Now, if you said, I'll give you 250 grand on mentorship, which one would you pick? I'd keep the 250 grand. I can make that quicker. By the time you've transferred it to me, I've already made that money. When you are working with successful people, multi-millionaires and billionaires, and they teach you how to do it, all you have to do is do the same things and you get the same results. If you watch Bake Off and you watch Mary Berry knock about and make a scone, right, or whatever you call scone in England, if you follow the recipe, you follow the thing, you get the result. If you go to someone in your sector who's a millionaire or billionaire and you say, how did you do it? And they say, I did this, and you do it, you get the same results. You have to. Having a mentor in business is so important, that's sector related and that knows what they're doing about. And I actually don't believe you can make it if you don't have a mentor. The second thing I've been taught since doing this is if you want to earn more, you've got to learn more. And I hate learning. I hated school. I hate reading. But when people leave formal education in the UK, on average, they go on to read one more book in the rest of their life, on average. People go on to read one more book. The CEO of the Fortune 500 companies read on average one book a week. So the rich people in this country read one book a week. The people that are blaming the government or anyone else who will listen for their failings doesn't read anything, right? So if you want to earn more, you've got to learn more. So I was like, shit, I hate reading. What am I going to do? Then I discovered audiobooks. So each week I download. These are unbelievable. I didn't know they existed, but it turns out they do. So I download an audiobook, one every week, and I listen to it on the tube, I listen to it on the bus, or when I'm in the car. And since I've discovered audiobooks, I've tripled my earning every year for 3 years. And it's because it's like some of those things you listen to and you're like, I can't believe I didn't know that, but you don't know what you don't know. So finding a mentor, learning as much as possible, and it's just little things that when you hang out with successful people and you hang out with people that are making and creating a lot of wealth, they speak very differently about risk. They work incredibly hard, they have mentors, they read a lot, and they say things like this. So on my first day with working with Lord Sugar, he said, do you rent or own your own house? I said, obviously I rent. How am I going to buy a house? And he said, well, let's think about it like this. How much do you pay in rent? I think at the time it was like £650 or something. He said, well, if you find a mortgage for £650, and I'm one of these people like, you know, what's the economy doing? Is the property market going up, down? What's all this Brexit stuff about? He's like, doesn't matter. If you buy a property and it's got a £650 mortgage and it's losing money, the property is failing, it's the same as renting, because that $650 you're paying is going to someone else. All that's happening is this $650 for you is building an asset, and if it's failing, you're in the same position as renting anyway. And I was like, that's so simple. Why did no one say that before? But this is how successful people talk and think. They can take something that's very complicated for everyone else, make it very simple, and then exercise it. And that's probably one of the key things that I've learned. So, reading more, having a mentor, making things very simple in business, and then I've just watched how these people talk. You know, I've been in board meetings where they're talking about hundreds of millions of pounds of deals. One thing that Lord Sugar does, which I really like, is it's very honest. It's very, very honest, and he does it to your face. So we all work in this world where people communicate in these CCs. He sends an email and CC everyone in who's ever had an email address. He will, if he has a problem with you, he'll walk out onto the floor, he'll pull you aside and absolutely rinse you to your face. And it's quite a shock, because people say, I wish there was more people like that. It is a shock when people deal with you very open and honestly to your face. But when he has an issue with you, you know straight away. He never lies to you, and he never talks about it behind your back. Once we've dealt with an issue, it's done and it's dealt with. And I think it's a very positive trait, and when you deal with people in that instance, you have much less issues within your company. We have a staff retention rate of 91% over the first 2 years, which is incredibly good. And our staff customer rate, our retention rate was 96% last year. We churned 4 customers, 2 of which went bankrupt. So it wasn't my fault. So that's pretty good. And that's basically the lessons I've learnt over the time with working with him. And yeah, that's basically my journey up until this point. Thanks very much for having me, and now I'd like to answer any of your questions. Thank you.